Hey everyone, welcome to today's Autoimmune Table Talk Live. And today we actually have a really interesting topic because it is what I call one of the most common scenarios that shows up in the people that we talk to. And I have a special guest joining me today. But today we're going to be talking about the topic is so you think you are a super special rare zebra with your autoimmune disease. Now what? Well, we got a full show in store for you today. Just you wait. Hey, everybody, I'm Maggie, UMD, functional and holistic medicine physician, and the creator of the Transform Protocol and the program Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. We also have a Facebook group by the same name, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. We're at 55,000 strong plus and growing. This is one of the biggest pro-positive Facebook groups on the planet, and it's called Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. If you haven't joined it yet, make sure you click the link above or below in the comment section. We'll add it to the comment section as well for you to join if you haven't joined it already. I would love, if you're watching, give me an idea of if you have autoimmune disease, tell me what your diagnosis is or symptoms are, why you think you're a super special rare zebra. Put it in the comment section. Today, we have a hot topic, which is that interestingly, a lot of people don't realize that most people with autoimmune disease think that they are a super special rare zebra, whether that's with their diagnosis or their symptoms or their lack of diagnosis. In fact, it is the most common scenario of people we talk to is that they think they have a super rare special disease that's super rare. And with it, you guys don't realize is that it comes with a whole host of obstacles. And it actually keeps people from getting better. And Rosana is here today. She's joining me. Rosana is our Transform advisor. She's one of the people that you might be talking to when you when you when you schedule a call with our team. And our team speaks to a couple hundred people a month. And so one of the feedback Rosanna and I actually got into a conversation last week was, why is that the most common scenario? And don't people realize that it actually creates a lot of hell or obstacles for them? And why is that the case? So Rosanna was the one who pitched this idea. Why don't we do a Facebook Live on this? So Rosanna, I'd love for you to do a quick introduction.
Yeah, so I'm one of the people that you're going to speak to likely when you give us a call. And the reason why I wanted to bring up this topic is because the majority of people that I speak to about this program are dealing with such an array of symptoms or rare symptoms or combination of symptoms that they really are skeptical and can hardly believe that there's a possibility that they can get some actual turnaround and results.
Yeah.
Fear and trust are a big concern.
Fear and trust is a big concern, but their story around this I think stems from, we all have stories. I mean, our memory of the past, most of the time even when I'm talking to someone and you're repeating what happened, that's your story of what's happened. And all of us with our health, our autoimmunity, have a story. We have a story. So a lot of times when I ask someone, especially someone new who comes to our program and they're introducing themselves, they typically will start with, rather than introducing themselves, they'll go into the blow by blow of that story. And there was someone actually posting in the Facebook group last week about how significant whatever your autoimmune story is. To me, whatever that story is, the values that underline that story, what fuels that story, really defines your results. And people don't realize just how powerful your autoimmune story really is. Now, right now, I know you're joining us live. And those of you that are watching, if you're an alumni, I would love, because I did a poll last night. I asked people in our program last night, how many of you guys thought you were a super special rare zebra that couldn't be helped? 80% of you all raised your hand. These are people in our program. And so I'd love, if you're an alumni, type in chat what super special zebra diagnosis or symptoms you thought you had before you joined the program, and where are you at now? If you could type it in chat, that'd be really awesome. I love comments, feedback, and questions because it really fuels this conversation. Any of you have questions or you have you want to tell us about you, type it in the comments right now. But it's this whole idea. There is a story, and stories have so much power. And I would love for you to even define, like, we know when we're talking with someone that they think they're super special rare zebra. What does that story look like or sound like? Can you give us some examples?
Oh, I've tried everything, and now I have more problems.
Mhm.
Why?
Right?
Why am I so unique? Why am I so different? Why is nothing working for me?
I'm super special because nothing has worked for me.
Yep.
Okay. I hear it all the time, which is in the Facebook group, we get a post. Does anyone else have CIDP? Does anyone else have X, Y, and Z 0.23? And and I'm always, it always kind of baffles me when I see one of those posts. I'm like, who cares if anyone else has it? Don't you want to end it? Like, I don't really care. But at the same time, it's interesting, the need for people to say, hey, I have this diagnosis or I have this set of symptoms, and who else has it. I think what's fueling the story is how alone people really feel in their healthcare journey. I think people don't realize, number one, how common autoimmune disease really is. Autoimmune disease is growing at an exponential rate. And it's not just in diagnosis. There's a lot of reasons. There's genetics involved in here. There's environmental stressors. There's dietary issues that are concerned. There are things that are epigenetic things that are turning on genes for autoimmunity. Hormonal shifts, that is huge. So much in an environment, in our diet, in the products we use, is really causing huge hormonal shifts. So these hormonal shifts are turning on the genes for autoimmunity. And then we got super infections that are going on, including the big C that we're talking about, that is majorly triggering and turning on autoimmunity for people. So more and more, there's assault on our system that's turning on autoimmunity. So it's becoming one of the most common diagnoses that we deal with. But the problem is, another word is the word diagnosis. Okay. Because here's the thing. I think the diagnosis and the lack thereof is extremely misleading. Because I'm going to ask you, Rosana, how many people actually we talk to, and how many people that join the program have no diagnosis?
Probably about 30% of them.
30%. That's absolutely true. 30% of the people in our programs have no diagnosis, but what they have is a shit ton of mystery symptoms. So if you have, this is me, I'm describing me right now and my symptoms, okay? You had early menopause at 36, you had weight gain, you had postpartum depression, you had hair loss, you have fibromyalgia, you got joint pain, you got tendonitis, you got herniated disc in your back, you got TMJ, and now you got thyroid issues. And then you have menopausal hell on top of it. And then now all of a sudden you have neuropathy. And then now you have Raynaud's and your fingers are going, turning blue in the hot and cold. I'm a super special rare zebra. And I actually want to point something out here. This is the normal way autoimmune disease shows up. I'm actually a normal autoimmune disease sufferer. Okay. Not sufferer, conqueror. Okay. And the reason is this. I think, Rosana, like, even if someone shows up and they say, I have this diagnosis, they always have 10 other symptoms. Or if they don't have a diagnosis, they have 10, 20, 30 symptoms, and no one can figure out what the diagnosis is. Or they have a diagnosis, but no one can add the additional diagnosis to explain all the other symptoms. So what are the doctors telling them when this happens? Okay, this is the common autoimmune person coming to us right now. But when these people go to the doctor, what do you hear the doctor tells them?
They can't do anything for them.
We don't know what's wrong with you.
Yep.
You are a super rare zebra. I've never seen somebody like you in my career. And I'm laughing not because I think it's funny, but I want to explain from behind the scenes why the doctors say this. Why do doctors tell you guys this? Okay. It's because there's a total lack of understanding in the medical community about what autoimmune disease really is. So I want to fact, okay? If this is resonating with you, tell me what's resonating with you in the comment section. Fact check right here. So autoimmune disease is where your immune system is supposed to protect your body from germs and cancer. Instead of fighting germs and cancer, it's looking at your own body part and says, you're a germ, you're a cancer, I'm going to kill you. Now, if it already mistakes one part of your body as a germ, you have rheumatoid arthritis, it already doesn't like your joints, guess what? It's going to mistake hundreds or thousands of other body parts as a germ, and it's going to attack those targets. You're not a rheumatoid arthritis case. You're actually someone with autoimmune disease, of which one of the identifiable symptoms has a name of a diagnosis because there happened to be a blood test for that target. But you have 300 other targets that we don't even have a blood test for yet. So you're not about or defined by your rheumatoid arthritis, nor am I defined by Hashimoto's or mixed connective tissue disorder. I actually have an autoimmune condition with which my body's attacking multiple and hundreds of targets of autoimmune attack. So I am not defined, nor are you, by your diagnosis or lack thereof. Okay? Behind the scenes in Western medicine, we're trained to look at one symptom, give a fix. One symptom, give a fix. You got heartburn? Give you a Prilosec. You got an infection? Give you an antibiotic. You got numbness in your finger? Let's see what we can do about that finger. But really, for me, there's an underlying bigger issue. Why does this person have numbness in their pinky? They may have something attacking all their nerves throughout their body. That's an autoimmune attack, and it just happens to be showing up in this pinky first. So for me, there's such a bigger issue, and which is why for me, every single autoimmune patient has very similar things that are feeding it. It's the same condition. It's just that different people have the targets that have certain types of testing that says, oh, you happen to have this one disease identified. But that doesn't mean you don't have a ton of these other symptoms. But the problem is primary care providers, let's say you go to your regular doctor, we got 15 minutes with you. Trust me, I was a primary care provider. And so I'm like, patient Z is coming to me with 30 symptoms. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'll deal with the top 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the rest of it is, I've never seen someone like you. I don't know what to do. Let's send you to 6 other specialists, making you think now you're super special rare. And you're spending a lot of time jumping through hoops, going to different specialists. You go to, oh, I have Hashimoto's, now I have diarrhea. I'm going to see the GI doc. You go GI doc, and the GI doc is like, I can't fix your diarrhea, but now you're telling me you have gas, bloating, and now you have hair loss. What am I going to do to your hair loss? You're going to go to the gynecologist or the dermatologist. Dermatologist is like, well, I can do your hair loss, but I don't know what to do with your diarrhea and your rheumatoid arthritis. And oh yeah, your skin itches too. I don't know what to do with that. And so it's a circle that people get into, is that the primary care provider doesn't have time to deal with the complexity of these hundreds of targets. So they send you off, farm you out to 20 other specialists who has difficulty giving you a diagnosis, because most autoimmune diseases don't have a blood test for that target. And then they also can't help you most of the time because their Band-Aids don't work to stop the underlying causes. So if they can't diagnose you and they can't really help you, then you're now a super special rare zebra, and they don't really want to deal with you. So you're going to be told, well, that's really strange. I don't know what to do with it. Super rare, hundreds of times again. So I don't feel like it's the patient's fault that they feel like they're super special rare. I feel like they're being told that hundreds of times.
They're absolutely being told that. Or they're told they have such a rare autoimmune disorder that they are special. But how does the root cause approach affect or work for everybody?
This is interesting because I'm looking here right now in chat right now, and someone just said, alumni here, I was skeptical and a zebra. This is 80% of our alumni said they thought they were a zebra. I was diagnosed with sclerosing mesenteritis. I know who you are. And no doctor in my area could help me. And I was miserable. The program turned it around for me. Do you guys see that? You know, a lot of people will look at that and they'll go into a super rare autoimmune disease of sclerosing mesenteritis. And they go in there and they go into that group. And it almost, in those groups, is sometimes so negative sometimes that reinforces we're super special rare. And nobody can help us. That's unfortunately, I find a lot of groups that are on Facebook. It's like, we are super special rare. We're going to revel in this and nobody can help us. And let's compare war wounds, right? A lot of times it's groups like that. Leanne said she was told that nothing's wrong. Charlotte says she's been told you're just crazy. We got Kim here says, you're just lazy. Lazy. How many of you guys have been told you're just lazy and there's nothing wrong with you because you're tired? Do you know fatigue is the number one symptom we deal with? And there's probably 1,000 different targets with autoimmune disease that can cause fatigue alone. Okay. And then Charlotte also said, the swelling and weight gain because it's your age. You're just aging. Hey, I got this, Charlotte. I was told at 36 when I hit early menopause. I'm a doctor here. I was told by my gynecologist colleagues when I went to early menopause, it says, you're just getting older. Why don't we prescribe some Prozac, Maggie? And I'm like, I'm 36. I ain't 86. Right? Charlotte was told swelling and weight gain is because of your age. So everybody that ages has swelling and weight gain. I'm going to have a huge issue with that. Push away from the table. This is what my doctor told me. That sucks. All right. Tammy says, yeah, that's the story of my life. The doctors never know, and they want to send you to 3 other different doctors. Yeah, they really don't. Someone else just said, yay, there you are, alumni. Thanks for joining us. Kelly says, I was skeptical and waited almost 2 years to join. Best decision I've ever made to finally join. If you're in the fence, don't wait. This is the real deal. Amazing program that not only helps you teach you the why behind everything you're doing. That's cool. Monica, genes lighting up, yes, but no knowledge of management these days. Yeah, so one more. Tammy says, this is why I went to an Amish doctor. Everyone else wanted to put a Band-Aid on the issue, give them prednisone, and that wears off, and you're back to square one. So this is really typical. As you guys can see, this is the typical experience of our alumni, and there's plenty of people here that are not alumni that are talking about the same thing. So when that happens, let's talk about it. If you believe this is your story, that you have been told by your doctors that what you have is really rare, what is the consequence of that story? What is the price you're paying for that story? And I'm interested in, with Rosana, how do they show up? This is 80% of you. So I'm not singling anybody out. And this was me before as well, just so you know. So how do they show up when they talk to us that, can create some barriers to them actually getting help?
It's become their identity.
That's interesting. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that's who they are. They have adopted it as who they are. They've lost their sense of self, and now they are their illness. Their, vast array of symptoms or unique diagnosis, and they become attached to that story, and they learn to live life as that individual.
So if your identity is that I'm a super special rare zebra, the natural conclusion is that I'm alone, number one, and number two, no one can help me. And here's the deal. If you truly believe you're alone and you don't realize that there are millions of you out there, millions of Maggies out there, millions of Dr. Maggies out there, if you don't really understand and believe that, and you truly believe you're alone, then it's true. Nobody can help you. If your story and your identity is that you're alone, then yes, nobody can help you. The other thing is, if you believe you have something that's super special and rare, then the natural conclusion is that also my solution must not exist and must be super, super rare as well. So I'm never going to find the right solution.
And they give up.
And I give up. That is the problem. Oh, Kim just said yes. We just had Leanne just say, alumni, mastocytosis. It's so nice not to receive a list of things you might have a life-threatening reaction to and find something and say, let's figure out how to fix it. Interesting, So I find that with that story that you're a super special zebra, I find two things, Rosana. Some of them give up, but there's also the other end of this where there's some people that become very like, I got to find that specific diagnosis and then I could be helped. So they stay on the diagnosis path for a really long time or the specialist path for a really long time. And then the third is I actually get the angry individuals, or not angry, maybe skeptical. I've gotten this. I actually have a story around this. It's kind of sad. A couple years ago, and it stayed with me. It actually stayed with me. This was back when I was actually on the phone. I happened to be actually on the phone, and this was a mom that had an 8-year-old with actually a life-threatening autoimmune condition. And the mom said, my daughter has such a super special, rare autoimmune disorder that unless you can prove to me that you have treated whatever the number was, I remember it was like 10 people with this rare condition, and you get them on the phone with me and tell me that you've cured them, I don't believe anything you have to say. And her daughter was given about 18 months to live. And it stayed with me. It stayed with me. It really did, because for me, it was like, wow, do you not realize that your daughter has autoimmune disease like everyone else that I work with? I work with every diagnosis on the planet, every level of severity. None of it scares me. None of it bothers me. None of it is super rare or special. All of it is actually the root causes are identifiable and absolutely could be helped. But she said, then you're a scammer. I don't believe you. You must be a scammer because you said you could help so many people. I'm like, well, look at all the testimonials that are, and she's just like, well, no, unless I can talk to three other people with this diagnosis that you've helped, I don't believe you. Well, it is possible that there are diseases where there's only 10 people on the planet that have it. Does that mean I can't help you?
Yeah, that's the question.
I mean, it kind of broke my heart because it not for mom, but for the 8-year-old. I mean, that story did stay with me. So that's the other path that sometimes people get into is like, well, it's impossible for you to be able to help me if I actually think I have a super special rare disease. Root
Yeah.
cause, yeah.
I have a
Oh,
very close friend whose husband has already had a liver transplant because of a super rare autoimmune disease of the liver. And it's very hard to get them to understand that it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, whether it's rare or common, there's still a way to turn it around, the root cause approach. It's such a hard thing for people to understand when they fall into that rare category.
well, I think what people don't realize is that what is the commonality in all autoimmune diseases is how they're fed. You can take this to the bank, everybody. Please take this to the bank. If you remember nothing else from this life, I want you to remember this. The most common thing about all autoimmune diseases is how they're fed. I know what feeds them. I know how to identify what feeds them, and I know how to stop feeding it. So why does it matter what the diagnosis is? Just stop the fire hose that's feeding it. Like, stop the hose. Like, instead of sitting here saying like, oh, there's water in this room and this room and this room and this room. We got to go and suck the water out of this room, that room, that room. We got to get, people to restore this home here and there and all this stuff. I'm like, can we just turn out the fire hose? That's like pouring this 1,000 gallons of water into your home every single minute. Can we just go stop the fire hose? Because I know exactly where the fire hose is. I know how to identify the fire hose. I know how to stop it. Why can't we just do that? Does that make sense? I mean, I'm wondering, like, is this resonating with anybody out there? Who wants to know, like, what is the fire hose that's feeding their autoimmune disease and to just stop it? I have Karen right here says, I don't want to see another 1,000 specialists and feel worse. Hey, here's the deal. Like, I agree with Karen. If you saw those 1,000 specialists and it fixed the problem, that's great. You don't need me, right? But if you're going to spend all the time, money, and suffering, and more time with autoimmune disease with permanent damage, just waiting for help from these thousands of specialists, and it's not working, that is the most painful, excruciating, and expensive thing that you can do because you're robbing yourself of quality of life, right? So that's really a good point. I like this one. Kim says, who cares where the fire started? Just put it out. That's a really good point. And so, like, I wanted to bring this up because I'm curious, like right now, I'm truly curious how many of you think that you're super special rare zebra. Type in your diagnosis or your list of symptoms. Because I would love to, I could crack any case. I can crack any case. And I've actually done this before, Rosana. You've seen me actually do this. I've done like live trainings where I said, hey, I'm just going to pull a member from the audience who thinks that they have a super special rare autoimmune disease. Come at me. We unmuted that person and they sit here and they list A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Y to Z, all their diagnoses and symptoms. And I'm like, okay, so this is what's feeding it. ... Here's what you need to fix it. This is what you need data on. Here's how you turn off the hose. Boom. There you go. Whether you work with me or not, this is what you need to do. Because I think my super special power is pattern recognition. I can see patterns. Like, for example, I'm going to give you guys an example. I have Hashimoto's. I deal with a lot of people with Hashimoto's, but I deal with any autoimmune disorder. What people don't understand is, example, here's a pattern, okay? I have Hashimoto. Let's say Rosana has Hashimoto's. She has the super special rare Hashimoto's with joint pain and diarrhea, okay? And what I love seeing that is I'm like, I already know what's wrong with that because here's the deal. If you have an autoimmune disease attacking your thyroid, which is a hormone-making organ, what's the likelihood it's going to be attacking other hormone-making organs like her ovaries and adrenal? 100%. This is why she's tired as hell because her adrenals are dead because it's under autoimmune attack. And then I also realized, oh, people with autoimmune disease and specifically hormonal autoimmune diseases have terrible time with blood sugar, high and low blood sugar. So guess what? Every time her blood sugar hits high, it's feeding the bacteria, fungus in her gut. That's why she has diarrhea. Right? And oh, she has diarrhea. Guess what? She needs to get food mapping done because there are foods. Oh, she said, I went on every elimination diet on the book and it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't have your own data. So guess what? We're going to do food mapping on you. Guess what? It was sesame because it was so damn healthy and you ate tahini every day and hummus every day. It can be that simple. And I'd love, I'd love like for some of our alumni to actually share the experiences they have had in the program, because that case right there, I just solved. And that's through understanding of the patterns, right? Understanding how the hormones play a role, understanding how blood sugar played a role in this, understanding the role of infection in her gut, and understanding her need and her journey where she's been eliminating so much that she lost 10 pounds and can't gain any more weight and she's nauseated every morning because she has a sesame problem. We need to do food mapping, and that can be gone even in a week, right? I mean, that is, you can take that, that's how that's the kind of patterns that I see all the time. Jim just said something so true. I felt so alone. I was isolated. No one can help me. I was told by 3 doctors I would decline in health no matter what I did. Now I'm thriving. Oh, thank you, Jim. Oh. Someone else, just Rosana, were you about to say something?
Well, I think what people also need to understand is that you need to work with someone who understands autoimmune disease and you need a comprehensive approach. I think those are 2 unique identifying factors that you bring to the table.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna just unmute that a little bit. I think here's the thing. A lot of people ask me like, "Who's your doctor?" I don't have a doctor. And the reason I don't have a doctor is I haven't met another doctor who really have lived through, got training, understood, and really teach about autoimmunity. That's brings up an interesting topic. I feel like, and it's not a pride thing. I'm not proud of this. I wish there was hundreds of doctors that I can say are autoimmune specialists who can help me or help you. There isn't. I mean, literally, I had to live through my own hell and nearly die 3 times to really, commit to my own training, to saving my own life, and then now to teaching it to others, right? It is by blood, sweat, tears, and investment that I actually had to invest in myself and my own training to be able to survive this and then to be able to share this information. But the problem is, here's what I see. I think there's a big problem with, we already talked about the problem with conventional approach to autoimmune disease, but I also think there's a big problem with the naturopath and functional medicine approach as well. So I'll be honest with you guys, right? I went into functional medicine before functional medicine existed. I'm older than you guys think. I've been in practice 26 years. I'm in my 50s. And wow, did I just say that? Oh, okay, early 50s, all right? God. Anyway, I am in my 50s. And I'll say what's I'm in my 50s. And and what I found was, I had to learn early when there was no Institute for Functional Medicine. I had to learn from naturopaths, functional doctor conferences, trainings, and all that. A lot about autoimmunity. I had to practice it. And I was in medical practice when official training didn't even exist. And I had a lot of practice over the first 12 years of my practice, family medicine doctor. Last 14 years of my practice, I'm a functional doctor because I had no choice. I had to save my own life, right? But as training has improved, right, I got a lot of experience, real life experience, and on myself, right? But as training has improved, now we're seeing formal training programs of functional medicine doctors or naturopaths to do, like the Institute of Functional Medicine, right? But what I see is this: doctors, let's say an ER doc says, I'm sick and now I want to go into functional medicine, but they've been an ER doc their whole life. Or I have somebody, I know somebody who's an acupuncturist who says, now I want to go into functional medicine, right? So they go to train in functional medicine. It's, from, a couple year accreditation process, which I am accredited in as well. But this is what I found when I was there, was that there is so much in functional medicine. Like, think about the 5 pillars of autoimmune disease that I talk about in my training. I mean, we're talking hormones mastery, blood sugar mastery, gut healing mastery, vitamin mineral density. We're talking about blood sugar mastery. We even talk about personal growth and mindset work. I mean, if you guys really want to know what's feeding your autoimmune disease and you want information on the 5 pillars protocol I created, put 5 pillars in the comment section and write your diagnosis or symptoms down. And our team can reach out to you and give you the training about what feeds it. But when I look at these 5 areas, Rosana, and from behind the scenes, this is huge. I mean, so a lot of doctors, let's say you worked in ER for 20 years and now you want to go into functional medicine. It will take you the next 10, 20 years of your life to learn everything you need to cover everything that's needed that fuels autoimmune disease. Isn't just one thing. So what we find is functional naturopaths will go and specialize in one little area. So you'll have a naturopath or functional doctor says, all I do is Lyme, all I do is mold, all I do is hormones, all I do is this, all I do is that. So it's like one little thing. So then the problem is we got super special rare zebra with autoimmune disease that have all these areas that are wrong, right? So there's a lot of content to cover. And there's also a specific order that needs to be done to get to really hack this case. It's not just what you have to do, it's the order with which you do it. And I talk about it in the 5 pillars training, right? Well, then they go to a natural doctor and says, I'm going to go to a natural doctor. Okay. Someone just said, I'm going to go see an Amish doctor. Okay. But do you know that it's very rare to find a natural doctor who's going to know all these areas on how to master them, do it in the right order, or even teach you anything about it? So you might go and you didn't realize, oh, I'm actually seeing a mold specialist and everything that they do is just mold. Well, that might be 1% of what's going on with you, but then you're going to see a natural doctor is supposed to have more solutions, but they're only a little sliver. And most natural doctors and functional doctors only focus on one sliver, because it's very hard to be good at everything. This is also why medical doctors specialize so much. Do you know it's easier to be a specialist in one area than to be a generalist, like a primary care doctor? It's actually harder to be someone who's supposed to be good at most things. And we have that same problem in functional and natural medicine. There's literally no primary care provider of functional medicine that is good at 90% of what's good in functional medicine. There's basically thousands of functional doctors that are really good at one little thing because it's easier. And unfortunately, that doesn't solve the fire hose and hoses that's feeding autoimmune disease. Monica said, why piecemeal your health? Get your health personalized to you. Oh, that's cute. Angie just said, me. I've been told by many doctors due to my total heat intolerance and flatlining for 18 seconds after nitroglycerin and other strange autonomic nervous systems. I eat autonomic issues for breakfast, Angie. Only diagnosis is Hashimoto's because so here's another case, right? Like I'm looking at this case. She probably thinks she's a super rare zebra. I see a case like this 10 times a week. Rosana, true?
Yes, true.
We get 10 calls like this a week. Okay. And I'm looking at it. I already know what's wrong. I already know what needs to be dealt with. Heat intolerances. There's a lot of food and histamine and hormonal issues and blood sugar issues right there. Boom, booyah. Thank you very much. Flatline for 18 seconds. Autonomic blood pressure, tachycardia issues. Okay. Those are autoimmune attack. That's actually autoimmune attack against your nervous system. Right. And yet her only diagnosis is Hashimoto's. So she's walking around like, I have Hashimoto's. Like, can you help me? You're the Hashimoto specialist. Or better yet, she's going to see the cardiologist. A lot of people like Angie ends up at the cardiologist and the cardiologist says, oh, you faint after 18 seconds. We're going to do all these tests, tilt table, this, that. Nothing's wrong with you. You're fine. Or, hey, let's try this blood pressure medication. Let's try this medication. You know what? Because your heart rate goes really fast. Let's do a medicine to slow your heart rate. Guess what? That drops your blood pressure too, and you get worse. Your heart is slower, but your blood pressure drops, and you're even sicker. And now she's fainting and can't drive. So this is a typical case that we see of a super special rare zebra that we get actually 10 calls a week on. Angie, did you hear that? There's 10 of you out there every week that we talk to. This is true.
It's rare to find someone who just has one diagnosis and one symptom.
Check this out. Kim says, my sister passed away. It was because she couldn't get her blood sugar under control. Blood sugar is a big deal, and everyone thinks they got it. Nobody's got it. That's why we spend weeks and weeks on this. She weighed 65 pounds when she passed away. I fully believed after hearing that it has all to do with autoimmunity. Kim, yes, yes, and yes. And that's a problem. We wait till it gets so bad. And I'm sure her sister went to a lot of doctors and a lot of places and even natural means to get help. you know, and Kim even said they removed her pancreas right now, removing more and more body parts. That's the other thing. The solutions we get oftentimes from conventional doc is surgical. You know, it's like, oh, you're bleeding to death, your period every month. Let's just remove your hysterectomy. We'll just do a hysterectomy. Oh, you got a thyroid nodule. You know what? You don't have anything else going on. Let's just remove half your thyroid. Dude, she's got autoimmune disease. Nodules and goiters equals autoimmune disease. And then I can't even stand how many people have had thyroid cancer, don't even know the underlying cause of that is autoimmune attack against the thyroid. It's an autoimmune disease, and it's an end stage autoimmune disease result to get a cancer, right? I get a little hot in the collar here. Sorry about that. Andrea says, you're the first one I've ever heard relating autonomic dysfunction to autoimmune. Good to know. I do not have POTS. POTS is yet another name, right? But how many people don't actually even have the diagnosis of POTS? That's a super special rare diagnosis already itself. But how many people don't? I don't qualify for diagnosis of POTS, but hey, boom, I'm fainting everywhere. I'm dizzy. I'm tachycardic. I'm nauseated all the time. And they're sending you mail. Guess what, Angie? People come to us after Mayo and Johns Hopkins. Maybe you could skip that line. I mean, let's talk about that. How many people with POTS and autonomic dysfunction do we speak to every week? How many?
At least one, but probably more. Yeah.
In our program at any given time, I can tell you right now, currently in our program, there's at least 5 or 6 people currently with autonomic dysfunction of some type. And that's I'm underscoring this. And you know what? I'm solving all of those problems. POTS, autonomic dysfunction, is one of the easiest problems in our program to solve. Did they hear that? Did they hear that? Do you ever tell them that, Rosana?
I do, but it's still hard for them to believe because they're being told that there is no problem. There is no diagnosis.
And that's the other thing too, is like, I like using just the example of autonomic dysfunction, dysautonomia, blood pressure tachycardia, POTS as an example, because just in our group alone, I'm going to tell you, I put out at least 1 to 2, probably 2 alumni interviews every week. And we have at least 10, if not more, interviews of just on the POTS diagnosis alone. And I'm going to challenge all of you guys, right? You guys are being sent to Mayo, to Johns Hopkins, all that, right? Why don't you have some of these people that you're being sent to show you 10 videos of people whose symptoms they've completely eliminated? Have masters show you 1, right? So for me, it's really important. Like, don't take my word for it. We have a ton of resources in the Facebook group. I take time to put these interviews together so that I don't care what your symptom is or what your diagnosis is. We can help. And we even can show you proof, because we have alumni interviews up the wazoo. Our alumni is so, oh, check this out. We got Danielle here. Danielle says, me. But have symptoms big time. I don't remember what that would do. But how many? I would love. Oh, let's see. I would love actually for anybody that has POTS. If anybody that has POTS or dysautonomia, who is on our alumni, if you're watching this or you can watch it later, comment in the comment section below. But better yet, you know what? I'm actually here to help you. So if you have dysautonomia, POTS, you think you have a super special rare as a symptom, go ahead, put it into the comment section right now, because check your message request. We actually send tons of message resources to people that comment under our videos and they never see it. So if you go into your Facebook message request, check it out, maybe later tonight or tomorrow, you're going to find some questions from us to learn more about you. So we can share some of these videos, resources, case studies with you, because the solutions are real, the results are real. Rosana, anything to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Perfect.
This was helpful for people.
Oh, here we go. Danielle just said POTS. Didn't know it was related, and I had so much relief compared to where I was in the beginning of the program. Thank you, Danielle. I love that. Jim says, I've been to Mayo Rochester. Docs there are fantastic, but could not help me. I was told to go home and monitor symptoms. I hate that line, Jim. I hate it when people say, let's monitor. Do you know what monitor means to me? Monitor means let's wait till you get more and more permanent damage from your autoimmune disease to the point where you then qualify for some of these medications or surgeries, and then we'll do something about it. Let's not prevent anything. Let's not solve anything right now. Let's wait till something really when the shit really hits the fan, let's remove that. Let's remove some of your colon, Jimbo, later. That's what monitoring means. And it's like, it irks me. Awesome. All right. I hope you guys have found this helpful, everybody. So this week, we really did go into why there are so many super special rare zebras. And really, the most important thing that you can take away from this is to turn off the fire hose that's feeding it. And if you want to know how to do that, we have a 5 pillars training where I go through exactly the 5 areas that's needed to stop feeding any autoimmune symptom, period. So you can put in your symptoms here, check your message request later. You can even put 5 pillars in our comment section, and we're happy to share those resources with you guys. All right. I think that's a wrap, everybody. Have a wonderful day.